Hey guys, this is Malekith. Welcome to part 9 of my video. Um, I've had quite a lot of comments on the last few videos, and I'd just like to point out I'm not ignoring what you guys are saying, but I did record 3 of those videos in series before I actually uploaded any of them. So a lot of the time the suggestions you made I just couldn't implement them because I'd already played, several years in advance of that point. So hope that clears some things up. So let's review. We Ireland's thoroughly in our grasp now. The only thing that could possibly change that is this vassal in the middle here who's unhappy with us. I'm going to go over some of the ways that you can improve your relations with people as a sort of mini tutorial to show how I'm going to get around that. We have a first province down in Wales here, helpfully captured for us by the mercenaries, who hopefully I can continue to fund, but I may end up having to drop them for a while. Scotland have been trying to lay claims to a few of our provinces, but they seem to be busy beating themselves up between the vassals at the moment, so hopefully that won't escalate. So on the world view, Spain, the Muslims are encroaching quite heavily on the Christian kings in the top. Castile looks very sort of fragmented, with this big wedge being driven through the middle of their lands. Galicia is having Portugal revolting on it again, as usual. If you ever do play as Galicia, you really need to sort these 4 provinces out rapidly, get them on side. They'll nearly always start with negative opinion of your king. France is punching down further and further, so you may see them start absorbing quite a lot of Spain. If they can bring their numbers to bear without having any internal disputes. The rest of the map, you've got Rostov up here expanding hugely. I've had quite a few questions about the Russian provinces. A lot of the ones generally in sort of the eastern areas you can't start as they are of Orthodox Christianity as opposed to standard Christianity or sort of pagan religions. But there are some that normally start in this sort of region that you can play as, and you are quite within your capabilities of capturing the pagans and sort of converting them to your faith. So if you want to play as Russia, it's very much a viable region, and it's probably quite easy to get into lots of fights up there. I tend to avoid central land masses like that just because you end up with huge amounts of borders and no choke points to try and defend. But that's just my general strategy for these kind of games. So let's get into this. So first dealing with this Duke in Kildare. So you can see he doesn't like you. Well, minus 40. It's not as bad as it could be, but so one thing you can do is look at the list of negatives there and see what things that are making him unhappy. So you can see he desires the Duchy of Meath, and apparently I hold too many duchies. He's just generally unhappy with those sorts of things. But there are things you can do to improve him. So you get to conduct diplomacy. The first is send gift, whereby you send him a amount of gold and you'll get 20 opinion. So we'll do that to start with. So that bumps up to minus 20. You can only do that. You can't do that again, basically. See, this will not increase his opinion of you. It does actually let you do it, so make sure you read that. Obviously, you could grant him a landed title if that's what he wants, but I don't really want to go giving away any of the land. So another way that's quite easy is these are honorary titles. Now, you don't want to give anyone court jester. That's generally frowned upon, so his opinion will decrease. It just generally means he's a fool and not generally liked. But you've got all sorts of other ones here. Keeper of Swans, Master of Horse, Master of the Hunt is normally another one, but I think I've already given that out. Some are worth slightly more than others, so these bottom 2 are worth 15. So I'll give him Master of Horse, so that brings him up to minus 10. And another good way is to use your Chancellor here. You've got improved diplomatic relations. So what you do is you click that and click him on there. I'm going to leave that for now because I would rather use him to generate claims on places down here in Wales. But if I wasn't trying to actively start fights down here, I'd be using him for that. So at a later date, I'll probably give him another gift or something just to bump him up. It's worth keeping an eye on your vassals just to see what they think of you, because they're less likely to rebel if they're happy, of course. This guy's obviously extremely unhappy as he's in prison. So you generally focus on the person that's going to inherit, as people in jail tend to have a habit of dying rather rapidly. That's a flat 0. The problem with giving land to sons that aren't going to inherit is they're generally not very happy about the fact they're not going to inherit. So it's quite hard to keep them happy. You generally end up imprisoning some of them. So anyway, let's get on with this. So, as I said, I want to fabricate claims, and I'm going to start by capturing the other one here on the ocean, so that I've got a straight jump across with troops if I need them at a later date. Because obviously the difficulty here is my troops are here, and I have to get them to there, so if they can cut off the sea lanes, or I have to actually take the time to get troops to here, onto the boat, off the boat again. So making sure I've got a good avenue of transport's key in this location. So that's an interesting turn of events. The Norwegians have again just lost all of this to, it's actually the Kingdom of England now. Down on the coast you've got Cornwall as an independent dukedom. But apparently a 13-year-old kid has declared independence from the Norwegians. So we'll see how long that quite lasts. And apparently my nephew was the parent of this boy. Strife in here is what's going to help me actually capture it, because if the Norwegians were united, the sheer amount of land they've got would allow them to raise armies significantly larger than mine. Okay, so here's an event whereby you, the peasants are coming into the town and the owners of the cities don't want them in there. So you can either basically kick them out, which increases the chance of them revolting but gives you a huge boost to city tax, or you can say they're allowed in the city, which then loses you opinion with your vassal. As I'm going to want the money, I'm going to take a risk on the revolt percentage. So you can see you've got all sorts of independent dukedoms, although Kent, so there's Lancaster and these two are owned by the same people. So as long as these guys are fighting amongst themselves, it bodes well for me. As usual, I'm just waiting on the Chancellor to do his job, so it's just going to be fast forward really. So the King of Wales is looking to increase his crown authority, as I actually have a province in Wales that comes under me, even though I am a King of Ireland. So I get a vote in whether I want to allow him to do that or not. So I'm going to try and say no, but it seems the rest of his vassals want it quite a lot. That gives him more control over the region. So it looks like I've been excommunicated. With this guy being the source of it. So he's a duke within Wales. He's the steward of the king. Which probably won't fare well for me, but we'll see. So my duke's now, well, my king is now saying his wife's old and not attractive. Maybe he should go look for a mistress. And he's looking to go with the ugliest person ever who really doesn't like him. So I'm going to go with the bottom one, based purely on those grounds and nothing else. So again, England's now fragmented even further. What was the Kingdom of England is now split into lots of tiny little dukedoms, with York getting a huge chunk. So the son down here that I imprisoned, he's just died, which means she inherits, and she really doesn't like me. And she owns 2 pieces of land right on the coast, so I probably need to do something about that. So I'm going to deploy my marshal to suppress revolts. Oh, my spy master's not doing anything. That's interesting. Have him uncover some plots in case she tries to do anything against me. And for now, I'm just going to try and improve relations and probably drop the mercenaries, as they're costing me money. Which reminds me, I had an incident up here where I have to educate a child. So one of the crusades called by the Pope earlier has now been successful. So this is the Chancellor doing his job. So he's been in this province and he's improved the relations with them by +25. And he'll keep trying to do this over and over and over again. I think there is a chance where he fails and you lose opinion with them. But he seems to be successful a lot more than he fails, but I guess that's based on his score. So she's now at -36. So this guy reckons he's a better steward, which he is, but he doesn't like me, so I'm going to ignore him. So this is the Chancellor again. He's managed to get another 25. And this time it's not with her, it's with the mayor of one of her provinces. So my wife apparently is wanting to kill somebody. So I'd better look into this one. So you're going to intrigue, go into known plots. And she's trying to kill my granddaughter for some odd reason. And I'll just force her to abandon the plot. I think he's killed enough family members for now. So this is the Knights of St. John have been given some land apparently. So somebody wants to write about the family chronicles. If you ignore him, lots of people dislike you. If you want it, you have to pay him, basically. is the Knights Templar have been given some land. Another child needs someone to educate them. So Peasants Revolt in Kildare, which isn't the Duke himself revolting. It's the just literally the peasants, so you can quite easily go put them down. So you can see, as I've mentioned before, you've got your 3 flanks here, but against one they will just fight in against the middle one. So you don't have to worry too much about the composition of the various flanks. So in terms of just pure numbers, my centre got destroyed there, but overall it's quite a clear victory. That's the Peasant Revolt put down. So my grandson's telling priests to sod off. I'm going to go with the priest probably deserved it. So there we go, my king's dead, replaced by his grandson. With the most epic Irish beard ever. It's like someone's got a lemming and stuck it to his face. So anyway, I'll just show you this now, if I can get it. No, that's not going to open up. There must be another way to get to it. Normally you can pull up your score, but it might only come up at the end of the game, thinking about it. But basically every time your king dies, it adds up these values in a certain way, adds it to the total score, and at the end you get a dynasty score which shows sort of how successful you've been over the course of the game in comparison to big families of the sort of the medieval period. Right, so now let's deal with the problems that this new king is going to have inherited. So first let's sort out who to educate. I think I just swapped the same one twice there. Never mind. Okay, then we have open council positions. Obviously he was the Chancellor before, so we have to appoint a successor. Now the best man for the job doesn't like my guy in the slightest, so we'll go for the next one down. Now vassals might revolt. There's 3 of them. One of them is almost certainly going to, as he's at 135%, which is this guy here, which I think is the half brother, yep. And then the third one, so you've got the Duke that owns here, the Duke that owns down here. This is going to get messy, so let's turn on the revolt risk. You can see it's 3%. So it's not the actual provinces themselves that will be revolting in terms of peasantry, which is what this is showing. It's the people that own them. So in an attempt to stop Kildare revolting, I think, let's see, what does he think? See, these numbers are huge. It's going to end up being an massive civil war, I think. I'll have him improve relations with Kildare, whilst having the Marshal suppress them. At least that forms some sort of barrier, as I own these top provinces. And the one in Wales is quite safe as well. So in anticipation, I'm going to raise my armies and group them up. So there we go. The half-brother has revolted, which is this one here. So he can march in and siege while this guy goes up and tries to fight the army. And then these two have revolted, and it's all-out war in Ireland. It seems we're back to fighting over potatoes. Time to hire some mercenaries. So yeah, as these two are marching here, they can just stand there for now. That changed their mind quite sharpish. So we'll march these guys in. Try to head off this large army with the mercenaries, whilst my personal armies deal with the rest of them. So my king apparently just got bashed over the head with a mace and is now completely incapable, which was not really what I wanted to happen. So if we now have a look at his family tree, he does fortunately have some kids already, so that's not going to be a problem. Otherwise that could be a interesting thing he has his wife doing if he's completely incapacitated. It does mean a female succession, so you may see me going through the matrilineal marriage route as a sort of mini tutorial a bit later. So my spy master is now the regent, and unsurprisingly my completely invalid king no longer wants to have a son. He's too busy trying to eat his jelly. These mercenaries need to walk faster, they're not getting to the fight quick enough. So this is the Marshal, and basically if you give him some gold, the military growth rate goes up a huge amount, which we will implement. I am just chasing these armies around in circles. This is getting frustrating. So you can see we've got a large force of my own troops fighting quite a large army of the Duke from down here. and some mercenaries beating on a much smaller army in the middle. So that's the mercenaries winning their battle quite happily. So we'll send them in there to start sieging this place. And my own troops have crushed these guys. Just finish them off now. Hunt down the survivors. There you go, no one left. This is the unfortunate thing that happens when kings die and their sons aren't as popular with everybody as they were. So again, this army managed to sneak through my grasp, but I managed to catch the second one. Hopefully this guy runs out of places to run, but I get the feeling he's going to sneak away again. He's a quick bugger. But he's missed it this time. So apparently my Chancellor's managed to convince the Bishop in Kildare that I'm good, but it's a bit late seeing as they've already revolted, but it should come in handy later, I guess. Trying to hunt down the remains of this army. Let's have a quick look at the siege. So we're nearly in to the first castle. That army's just been tracked down and they're decimated. Let's get down here with our troops and capture Kildare back. So that's the first castle in the siege to fall. Speed this up a bit. He's got 4 guys trying to siege my county, which is an awesome mental image of 4 guys standing in a little circle outside the front gates of your castle, with a few thousand people on the inside laughing at them. So the war score's at 89%. He could probably surrender, but I'm going to drive it to 100 out of principle. So this is another event you'll sometimes get. You basically say you want to eat lots of food, and there's a chance you'll become gluttonous, or you sort of only eat a little bit, and there's a chance you'll get temperate. So in that case, he didn't gain anything. Okay, so that's all 3 castles, war score of 100%. It seems these guys are all helping him, so this should bring everything back. So that prince loses his claim on the Kingdom of Ireland. I get 100 prestige, and it should reset everything. So he's totally beaten, so there's no chance of him denying it. And he's now also in jail, and we all know what happens to people in jail, especially ones I run. So I've got the option now of imprisoning this guy, but there's only a small success rate, and he's almost certain to declare war or run away if we fail. But in this case I probably want to enforce that just to get him out of the picture completely. So we failed and he's now rebelled, which is this bottom province. Who else might revolt? The Duke of Kildare. We can also attempt to imprison with a much higher success rate. And he's now safely locked away. And the other one was the little girl down here, who I'm also going to try for. And she's now safely locked away as well. So the only war I have to fight at the moment is for these four. However, I am going to get this title off of him. Which means he sincerely dislikes me, but nobody else cares because he's been rebelling. So I again now own this province. And I will be taking these back off of her as well. And because I took that one, I have a claim on that, nobody cares. Which poses me with a slightly different issue of that I now have too many provinces. I have 9 when 7's my maximum. But it does mean I can now reallocate these to people who are actually faithful to me. Let's just check. So that's my half-brother I just captured. So I should probably strip his title as well. So as he's a traitor, it doesn't anger anybody. Right, so now we need to find people that are actually faithful. I can probably dump a few on my daughter. It's probably worth looking at the ones that bring in the least money, which would be Dublin. I'll leave the Welsh one as I'd want to keep control of that. So if I give Dublin to my daughter, although a regent will rule in her stead to start with, she can't be given it under the current succession laws. Which is that she can only inherit if there's no males, which she does, but it means I just can't give them to her apparently. So okay, we'll go for a different route. We'll have a look in my court. And see who has a high opinion of me. And hand them out that way. Just see who's an option at the moment. So I could give one to my steward. He'd probably do a good job in bringing money in. So I think I will give him one. In Dublin. And its lower titles. I need to find someone to give Leinster to. Let's see. So that was the guy I just gave it to, and he's already disliking me. Which is probably because I have too many provinces, so a lot of these will probably start changing to like me once I sort this out. So let's continue with sorting this out. I'm not going to give one to her, she's far too old. It's all people in my council, really. So he's the Count of Dublin. Decisions. I'll give Leinster to a bishop. Gives me a nice bump from the church. And he now really likes me. Let's see after that. They're all pretty similar, as long as I don't give away Connaught. So, give away Ulster. Do this guy here. No, not the Duchy of Ulster, the County of Ulster. There we go. And that brings my score back down to 7 of 7. And the guy that just handed all those provinces out just died. So I'm now playing as the Princess of Ireland, who these people I just instated probably don't like. Yep. Excellent. So we could have more wars on our hands here. But I've just reached my, well, I've got over my 30-minute segment, so this civil war is going to have to continue in part 10. It's definitely got more interesting. So hang on in there and see you next time.